What would we do if our church's traditions went against the Scriptures? According to Matthew 15, that is a pretty big sin. And Acts 17 says that we're supposed to question our religious leaders. Why? Because religious leaders could be wrong. So what if your religious leaders of your church were wrong in an agenda or a tradition that they taught? And not only would they not change when they are confronted, but they would actually expel from the group those who ever took a stand for what the Scriptures teach. The Sold Out Press International is a press company for the International Christian Church where they make their books, soapy books. When any book from Soapy gets published, it has been thoroughly edited by Kip.
I believe one of the things that I do, even when I was editing Tim's amazing book, 2020, we'd always start off with a prayer. Because I wanted my writing to be pleasing to God. I wanted God to help me write what I write.
Come on. Yeah. Come on, bro.
I also realized that I had to set time aside. So when I write, even a bulletin, and this one John wrote, it takes hours.
Yeah.
It takes hours. Come on. John, I'm sure, spent many hours writing it himself. I know his whole family gave their input. Yeah. But I went back and I probably took about 8 more hours editing it. Wow. Perfecting it.
Come on, bro.
To make sure that it had the message that John wanted it to have. I wanted it to be precise and concise.
Yeah.
That's the value of writing, even over preaching. Come on.
Wow.
Because you can erase stuff.
One evangelist told me that his book was so edited that an entire chapter was not only written but added by Kip McKean himself. So we know that these books have been thoroughly edited by Kip. One book in particular, Joe Willis's book, Money is the Answer for Everything. He writes that if you have a situation where members of your church are unwilling to give special missions or contribution to the church because they have needs in their family, you are to respond with Matthew chapter 12, verse 48 through 50 that says, "Who is my mother and my brothers?" Pointing to his disciples, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does God's will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." According to Kip and Joe Willis, if you have to choose between taking care of your family's physical needs and giving a contribution or special missions to the church, you're to choose the church. However, that teaching goes directly against 1 Timothy chapter 5. In verse 8, it says, "Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." This is just one of many tactics of the ICC that go against the Scriptures, such as 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7, that we're supposed to give what we've decided in our heart to give, not reluctantly under compulsion. The Greek for compulsion is directly disobeyed when it comes to the tactics of the ICC when missions goals are given to churches and members are expected to give that money or go and fundraise even if they don't have it. No longer allowing members to decide what they want to give in their hearts, but finding a way to meet an obligation, the pressure because it was necessary to give a certain amount. And the Bible says you're not supposed to give anything when people are trying to have you give under compulsion. So what would you do if your leaders told you to do something that went against the Scriptures? I hope you can find the courage to take a stand for what is right. Maybe Pope Kip can encourage you to do so.
Well, man, if I take this hardline stand, someone might say something nasty about me. Or I might be disfellowshipped from what? A denomination? Let me tell you something. stand right here, and he was unapologetic. He didn't go back to the guys and goes, guys, I was a little over the top today. You know, happens to us all. No, the guys remembered this time where he tried to clean out the temple. Because Jesus was all about God. There were no idols in his life. He was consumed with jealousy for God. Not just for himself, but for everybody